Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Deviants, welcome to show. I am the Clintoris, and I am here with
the Guch,
and I'm the Devo.
and we are the Social Deviants, who are here today to highlight a man who was a policeman, who became a prison inmate, who became a fugitive, who became a victim, who became a contestant, who became a killer, who became a revolutionary, and finally, a lover, the butcher of Bakersfield. Ben Richards, baby! Woo! The Running Man. Let's do this.
Oh my God.
That was my best Richard Dawson impression. And today we are doing, today's January 19th. We're recording. We should be posting this the following Wednesday. And the reason why we're recording this is because if you watch the opening crawl of The Running Man, it says that in 2017 there's like a totalitarian military police state, and then they show and then it leads into Arnold in the helicopter, and we get Arnold's glorious grunt very early. And afterwards we get an 18-month time jump, and so hence we are in 2019 during the course of the film. And we're in 2019 now, so we felt it was apropos to talk about this glorious film from the Arnold Schwarzenegger. What was the first? Do you guys remember the first time you ever saw the movie?
I have to say, I know I watched it when I was a kid, but like on TV, but I can't really remember when. So I would have to say,
what year did it come
87.
out?
Yep.
So, I mean, I obviously don't know. I definitely didn't see it in the theater because I was 6 years old in 87. And we were all 6 years old in 87, so I don't even watch it then. I must have seen it like on, the USA channel or whatever the hell was on there at the time.
Well, I saw The Predator in the theater when I was 6.
Well, I mean, then you were special then. I didn't get to see any of that. But this is definitely a rental at, the old school rental stores, like the one that's next to a liquor store. This was even before Blockbuster for me.
What rental store did you guys go to? Do you remember the name of it?
It was like a local. It was like a local
Mine
rental
was Seven
store
Trees Video.
next to mine was probably something like that too. I don't remember, dude. It was
Mine was American Video. And I remember them because what was unique about them is that they had the case of the movie up on the stand, but they had these little like plastic tags that had Velcro on them underneath the movie, and you just pulled the tag number and took it to the counter.
Oh, really?
And they would go and get the movie.
Yeah.
And that was the first video rental place I went to that had like a legit porn section.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about those.
Yeah, the ones that were like behind with like a curtain and stuff. I love that stuff. That was awesome because you would ever saw
curtain or like swinging doors or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I remember, like I'd have to go like look at movies or look at games or something like that. And my dad's like, "Yeah, I'll be right back."
That's awesome.
This is pre-internet, folks. We're talking about VHS cassettes.
Hey.
But back to what I remember, I think it was probably back when I was in high school when I legit remember watching it for the first time. But I know I had watched it when I was a little kid. So that was what, 96 or 97?
You know, it's funny that those suits that they wore in the movie.
Mine was definitely before that.
Are like as iconic as you can get in the 80s.
Oh yeah, those things were Adidas too. So
they had a sponsorship
Adidas is part
or
of I guess
it's a little bit of a
really
violent movie for a company like that to sponsor. It seems odd.
Well, maybe Arnold had a sponsor with them or something.
True. I guess it's possible. Okay, so let's talk about the music of this movie, because it's, obviously the movie's set in 2019, but the music is so gloriously 80s. It's really, I honestly feel it was ridiculous. It's so ridiculous sounding now that it's fantastic. It truly is.
I like to compare it to the other like 80s films or like Arnold 80s films that were supposed to be, I don't know about the future, but like they're a pseudo future. Like I know a RoboCop isn't an 80s film, but I personally think that music is much better than this music. And the music from Total Recall is much better than this music. I know that was 1990, but still,
Dude, you're talking about
Predator
some of
alone,
the greatest music soundtracks in the history of film.
I agree, but I'm just saying that I think this is obviously one of my top favorite Arnold movies, by the way. I think it's lacking in the music. The music is very, very bad.
Really?
And you know
I don't
what's
like
weird?
it at all. And I like 80s. I like 80s music. I like 80s like pop stuff, but this is, I don't know. This is like
Who said it was
someone
80s pop?
like you and I made
it's
it.
80s terrible.
No,
but
but
80s terrible and good.
I'm just saying I like 80s music, and this is definitely not 80s music.
But you know what's weird? The fact that there's Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac in this movie, and he didn't do any
at
music.
all.
And
who
Dweezil
is
Zappa
Dweezil
is also
Zappa
in the movie, and he didn't
I
do
didn't
any music.
catch who he was.
Stevie.
He's Stevie, the dude
Yeah,
in the
he's
red
like
beret.
Oh.
Well, like
He's Mick's helper.
it's when they first
got it, yeah.
when they first leave the thing, and they're walking around, and the dude's like, "Hey, want to buy a hot stereo?"
Yeah. And at the end, like when like the revolutionary thugs come in, and like it's not Arnold or Maria Conchita Alonso, it's like the other guys. He's the guy that like points the gun at the guy touching the dial. He's like, "Don't touch that dial."
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah, and that delivery was so bad too. Like he looks, he kicks the door in, and there's a couple of beats where it's like I'm pretty sure somebody off camera was like, "All right, Dweezil, say it," and he's like, "Don't touch that dial."
It's so terrible. I do like though that Mick Fleetwood actually plays himself in the movie. That's actually him. It's
Well,
not some other person. It's him. He plays himself.
He's playing Mick Fleetwood.
He's playing Mick Fleetwood.
Well, his name's Mick.
But in one of his lines, he says that you're the type of person that banned my music. Like when he's talking to Ben Richards when they're taking off his blow up neck head thing, his collar,
neck bomb.
The neck collar bomb. He tells him, he's like, "You're the kind of you work for the man. You're the guys that enforce the censorship of my music."
That's so weird. I never once made that connection.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is, speaking of music, continuing on with music, is it's funny because I was actually looking on YouTube yesterday, and I wanted to play like the song that Chromeo has with Oliver. I think I forget the exact name of it right now, but and someone made like a video, like they made their own fan video for that song, and they used footage from The Running Man where like the chicks are doing the performances, and then I watched Running Man. I was like, oh, it's right there. It's like strange how that type of thing happens, you know?
Well, to be fair, they could it's just some chicks dancing. I mean, they could be whatever.
No, it was the same footage.
Well, I'm just saying, those chicks are just dancing.
Well, they're just dancing.
They're just dancing.
Now, I have a question for you. First of all, I wanted to say that Conchita Alonso, when she goes into her apartment, she essentially has an Alexa. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
She was just basically talking to everything, and then it was starting to do stuff, which I thought was cool. Now, let's talk about the sexiest.
They do that in Total Recall also.
Yeah.
And they do it in Back to the Future.
I know.
Give me channels 14, 28, 69.
Sexiness levels of Conchita?
In this film, she's sexy.
Out of a 10?
I
out
give
of a 10?
A strong 8. She's sexy.
I was going to say 8.5 or 9.
It's significant.
She's sexy in this one, yeah. She's very sexy in this one. Because in Predator 2, I mean, I don't know if it's the hair thing or like the early 90s baggy clothes on women. She does not look attractive whatsoever.
She's got those mom jeans going like that.
Well, she wore an outfit similar to that near the end of the film.
She did, but I mean, the long.
Well, that's because that was her guerrilla
warfare.
exactly.
Good in that outfit though, the runner outfit.
Oh, the running
God.
man. Even when she's in her her office, the negligee, of course.
She came in hot in that movie,
but
she's like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm coming in lingerie.
There's a scene
that's
at
how
the
I'm
end.
entering the film.
Yeah. There's a scene at the end when like everything's like all said and done, and Richard Dawson's been killed, and Arnold's just kind of standing there, and everybody's cheering his name, and she's walking through the tunnel, and she stops, and Arnold turns around, and she gives this look. It's just this one little look. It's just like, okay, all right, there we go. And unfortunately, one thing that does knock her down is, and I think it's just her terrible ADR, because she sounds like this in every movie she's in. Her accent is
What do you mean
horrific.
ADR? What's that mean?
Additional dialogue recording. When they record stuff on set, if they can't use it, they go in the studio and they record over it. She sounds like this in every movie I've ever seen her in, and it's like, oh, this is Ben Richards, the Butcher of Bakersfield. It's like just the way it sounds is just so fake, and like it sounds like somebody else is doing a Mexican
like when
accent
she's
on it.
harried.
It's
Dude,
so
there's
weird.
She
right
doesn't sound
before
good
she's about to
looking.
kill Dynamo, she like delivers this line. I can't exactly remember what it was. I didn't write it down, but it was literally horrible. Like I was like, wait a second, what the fuck did she say? Oh, okay. Like I was like, she's like struggling to even get the words out. But I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be too hard on her because she wasn't in the movie for that purpose.
Hey man, all I know is she hid that the video disc somewhere that even Arnold was
Dude,
impressed.
now hold on.
And I was very
I was
impressed.
going to talk about this. This is very
That was
important.
moist.
I need to know the answers on this. Now, well, first of all, first thing I thought of was Christopher Walken, so he gave me to watch. That's the first thing I.
No, give me the watch.
So he gave me
Yeah.
to watch. So I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal of my ass for 2 years. So he gave it to a man named Wanaki, man he never met before. But which hole do you think she put it in?
I'm pretty sure they're referring to her vajayjay.
Her vagine?
Her the vagine. I'm pretty sure it's a vagine.
Devo?
Yeah.
I would assume it would be the same area. Only because, you know, like the way that those discs were, they weren't, should I say, rectal
They
friendly.
weren't. Oh, you mean they weren't like the shape of a bead?
Yeah.
Like she would have a less difficult time putting it there rather than in the behind.
Well, now after Arnold's done with her, it'll be
Well. Oh, and speaking of which, did you notice that after they have their little loving embrace at the end and they turn to walk away, like he grabs the back of her neck like he's gonna like either choke her or like push her in a weird direction? Like, did you notice that?
I mean, she liked it from the very beginning.
Oh, she definitely did.
Like when they were walking,
She liked
Remember
it.
the
Yeah.
look on her face when she's like, what are you gonna do or something? And he like pulls the thing up out of the floor. She's like, oh, I'm coming. I'll go with you. Yeah, you're damn right.
He's all, I'm going to say please.
Yeah, but I said the same exact thing.
Okay, last question before we get to deviant casting director. Okay, there's a scene where Arnold she like, you know, foils his plans in the whatever the airport or wherever it is, and this fool gets out to the tarmac and this fool's just hauling ass, just running as fast as he can, right? Okay, now I was thinking to myself, Arnold looked pretty good. He looked like he was running pretty fast there. Now, I am of the opinion that Tom Cruise is the best on-screen sprinter ever in film. Do you guys have another candidate or an objection?
You know what? Do you really think that was Arnold running like that?
Yes.
Dude, he was running really fast.
I think it was.
To all my recollection, I would always thought, I'm like, you know what? I'll give Arnold the benefit of the doubt that was him running that like that. But in what other movie have you seen him run, like literally bust out sprinting?
I don't know. It was funny.
Yeah.
Well,
Right?
in Total Recall,
It's-
he
it's
sprints a
none.
little bit, right?
Not in Total Recall.
No, we're
not in
talking
Predator.
about bust out sprinting. He must have He must have ran at least
Terminator?
like I don't know, 100
Sprinting.
like 100 yards. No, in Terminator. When did he run in
No,
Terminator?
he's a
He just
robot.
like walks everywhere.
He
He
never
doesn't have
ran
to run
Terminator.
anywhere. The only one I can believe.
He doesn't even like hike.
The only time I think he runs again is in Commando when he jumps off of the airplane. But there, it's too small of a snippet to understand because he like jumps off the airplane and into the swamp, right? But this fool is like on the tarmac.
You know what? He probably runs in Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, he's got to get the toys.
But we don't watch that movie,
Yeah,
so we
I've
don't
never
know.
watched that film. Yeah, okay. So we'll give the benefit of the doubt. It's Arnold. Okay.
Okay, but do you think,
I have
do you think
I have
anyone's
my
better than Tom Cruise as a runner, sprinter on screen? Because he does it a lot.
Sprinter. He does do it a lot. He does
He
it a lot.
He looks good doing it. It looks like he's running as fast as he
He
can.
does.
Like big name
Because
stars
most
running.
like people when they run, they like these actors. They're not very athletic. Like I was just watching Tropic Thunder last weekend, and like Ben Stiller has to like run off this bridge, but it's like explosions are happening. And this fool's like scampering. I'm like, this fool can't even move.
I know Keanu looked good in Speed, but that
So-
was young Keanu.
Well, I guess that's something.
But I mean,
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm
I mean,
trying
he
to
was,
think,
I think Tom Cruise is the most prolific.
Like maybe Keanu.
Yeah, he does
he runs
run.
a lot,
He does
though.
actually.
Yeah.
He does run
He
quite
does
a bit.
run a
He just
lot,
doesn't look quite as fluid as Tom Cruise.
Because
does.
Keanu. Yeah, because I'm thinking like
I
in the
can't-
Matrix,
I
that
can't
fool
really
was
tell
like,
another
at the very
time,
end he
yeah.
was sprinting.
Either way, I found it amusing that Arnold was hauling ass on the tarmac.
Oh, yeah,
it was
dude.
awesome.
It's just so unlike him to see in the film. That's why I've always questioned whether it was him or not. I'm sure it's him. You know, Arnold, if you're
He's
listening
like-
to
he's
this, I
like-
apologize.
he's
You're the
like,
great
you
sprinter.
got one take. That's it. I do not do 2 takes of this.
That's it. He's all, that's the
That's
one.
the one.
That's the
Arnold,
take.
but you know, it wasn't. You know, we didn't get it right. No, that's it.
We got a different angle. That's the one.
Okay, so
I wonder if that's what it was like after. He was like,
Okay, casting director. Now I have a question. This is like maybe one of the biggest questions that we've always asked if you watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Okay, these movies are designed that Arnold. This is like an Arnold vehicle, but how would you guys feel if they cast Sly or Jean-Claude or Seagal? I don't know if Bruce Willis was like entirely active at this time, so I'm trying to think of other guys that would have been. Do you think that any of those guys could do the movie?
I think Bruce Willis could have done it. But I was reading that off IMDb.
I think they could do
the guy from Miami Vice they asked him
Don Johnson?
first. Don Johnson. They'd asked him first, but he didn't want to do it for my. That's off IMDb, so I'm not too sure how Johnson's career went.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think Jean-Claude could do it.
This is one of those roles where like they could do it, and it would be their own take. But there's just something special about when you have Arnold, especially in the 80s, when you've got Arnold in an action movie like this, because this is the kind of vehicle like this movie. I feel has one of the most uses of all of his one-liners in any other movie, you know, and I don't know if that was intentional, like if it's supposed to be like, you know, like, hey, this is a sort of kind of serious neo sci-fi sort of thing, but we want to make it humorous, so he's gonna do all of these stupid one-liners like, hey Killian, here's Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero,
and
you know,
there's
and like from that point on, it's just everything.
There's some scenes that I don't think would fit either Van Damme or Stallone. Was like when you first see Richards in the jail and that fool's carrying a solid steel I-beam that's like 6 feet long. Although obviously it's not believable for Arnold, but it's an I-beam. It's a solid steel. I mean, the first thing I came up with, I'm like, this is ridiculous, dude.
He's like carrying it like it's just, and he just tosses it out to the side.
And he just tosses it to the side.
I'm like, that's like hundreds of pounds.
And then when he picks up, what's her face? Conchita Alonso's character, he just
Maria.
rips the bolts out of the ground, and he's just like, I said, please. You know, I don't think anyone could have said that like Arnold. It's just a classic, dude. So
but that's like assuming they kept those shots in there,
exactly,
because I think stuff like that is you do that for Arnold, you know.
Yeah. You'd have to have like instead of him carrying a I-beam, it would be like he'd be like Rocky and punch the I-beam and like break the I-beam and stuff. And then for Jean-Claude Van Damme, he'd be doing his signature flying spinning jump kick,
spin kick.
Yeah, jump spin, and then he sends the I-beam flying through the air. You know, after that.
Bruce Willis is just like yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker,
exactly.
and
it blows up.
You know, when Arnold, and there's a couple things that stood out to me that like only Arnold could do. And this is beyond like obviously the one-liners, which we'll get to in the quotes. I have a ton of them that I wrote down because this is like a one-liner masterpiece. There's the scene when after Arnold gets to takes Conchita Alonso's like apartment over, and he's standing there and he has like these white slacks on with this white wife beater, and the fool just looks dapper. Like no one looks as cool as Arnold does in that moment. I think Jean-Claude could get close, but he still won't look quite like Arnold does. You know what I mean? And then the other thing, which I would like to know, like what the impetus for this was, but this is something that he does in Predator as well, and he does it multiple times in this. Is the second that Arnold gets to a point where he's sort of relaxing, cigar comes out. I don't know where he gets him, but he's got him.
Yeah, it's like his magical
it's thing.
cigar.
I feel like that's a thing that Arnold did
idea.
of his own. Like he's like, I want to be smoking a cigar in this scene. Like it's probably not in the script type of thing. But he just has an endless supply, and it just adds that little bit of flair to his character to just show how cocky he is, you know. And so it makes the one-liners feel more believable, you know. He's awesome. Let's talk about some of the other glorious casting in this movie. The Body, Captain Freedom. There's two things that stood out to me before you guys start talking about him that I wanted to mention. Number one, there's a scene where he's like doing some side of commercial, and he has like the wife beater. I mean, not the wife beater, the turtleneck on, white turtleneck. And this fool's neck is so big that turtleneck looks like he just simply wore a white t-shirt and wrapped a headband around his neck. Yeah, it's so big.
Yeah, well, he's the backstage
Yeah.
interviewer, and so he's given like updates on how like
Yeah,
all
there
the
you go.
stalkers
Yeah,
are
yeah,
feeling backstage and how they're all loose and
then
ready to go.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
he has his like the turtleneck
Yeah.
and the coat on. Like, it's an
Yeah,
old dude.
his sport coat, yeah.
that blue
blazer, yeah.
ICS blazer.
And and then there's actually a scene where if you look closely, there's a shot of him where he's wearing a ice, is it ice or ICU? ICS. He's wearing an ICS championship belt. If you notice,
Yeah, he's like looking at it.
The other thing is that when he, he comes, remember he goes into like the control room and he's angry. He's like, "This is bullshit. I used to kill men with my own hands and all this stuff like that." Right? This fool looks like he's literally wearing.
And he's wearing like that Captain Power outfit.
To me, it does look like that too. But it literally looked like this fool was wearing an in-wall air conditioner on his chest. Full.
It looks so
looked
bad.
terrible.
I mean, it looks just so bad. I like how every single time he moves, it like creaks. It's like
Yeah, they did the terrible
while he's
sound
walking
effects
around.
too.
It's so funny.
You sound like
It's
C-3PO out there.
Dude, I swear that doesn't it sound like it. No, I got a question for you. All right, so this guy, I just finished watching it. It just occurred to me after, hundreds of times watching this film. I don't think it was him when they show him like killing the fake Ben Richards. It probably
fake Arnold?
Yeah, the fake Arnold. It probably wasn't him killing him.
None of that
'Cause he
ever
won-
happened.
None of that ever happened. Even his character was probably
done after that.
like the face swap. No, but I'm saying is that in that scene, it's Captain Freedom picks up Ben Richards and throws him against the
Yeah, what Lucho's saying is that that's
he
not
walked
Captain
out
Freedom.
after the control room scene. He never appeared on screen
exactly.
again.
Yeah.
Again, and then it's someone with the face swap technology that they have playing as. Yeah, I was like, it just occurred to me when I first watched. I'm like, that's probably not even him.
Yeah,
so
it's not.
I hadn't seen this movie in so long, and I didn't remember all the one-liners. And the first thing that I wrote down when they showed Dynamo, I'm like, that is a fucking operatic Christmas tree. And then later on, Arnold calls him a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I was like, this is glorious.
But honestly, when even a little kid, I thought that was dumb. He looked like a Light-Bright dude. That's a terrible.
And this fool was like
terrible
shooting
costume.
electricity like he was Sidious or something. Full, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, for the Force. There's no
I
need
don't
for
know if
the
you guys
Force.
know this, but that actor died 2 months before the movie was released.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he died like September
damn.
87. The
I didn't
movie
know
came out
that.
November 87.
What was his name? Erland Van Lith.
Yeah.
He's actually like a classically trained opera singer.
What's crazy?
Jim Brown. That fool. First of all, that fool was 50
Fireball.
in that movie when they
Yeah,
shot the movie.
it
The
was
fool was in
hell,
good
dude.
shape, dog.
Yeah, he was, but still, he's
His hair was ridiculous.
Well, how old was he in Mars Attacks? He was good shape in Mars
He
Attacks.
actually
also.
looked better in Mars Attacks than he did in this one. Mars Attacks was like 10 years later. Not that much, like 5 years later.
Kind of drawn, a little bit too thin, but he still looks fairly fit.
I think it's the way they did his hair, because
The hair was terrible. It was so ridiculous.
terrible.
I was, what the fuck is
It was
that?
terrible.
The fool looks like the
I
Bride of
don't know
Frankenstein.
like what that was inspired by.
Yeah, he looks so bad.
Okay, and lastly, my
there you
last
go.
question for you guys before we move on to the Deviant Script Doctor. Sven. This fool had, I think, one line.
Sven Thornton.
I went back and listened to it about 3 times. I only heard the word steroids. I don't know what he was saying. Do you guys know what he said?
He says something like, "I guess it's the
I don't
steroids
think
or something." No, it's when it's when at the very end when Killian
Tells him to kill him,
wants him to tell him to get him. He's all, "I guess it's the steroids." And he
Is
just
that what he
walks
says?
off.
I guess it's the steroids?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because when Captain Freedom is like he's taking all that stuff off, he's like we were gladiators and blah blah. Like Killian's like telling Sven like get him out of here. Come on, get him out of here. What, the steroids plug in your ears? Get him out of here.
Yeah.
And so that comment bites him in the butt at the end.
And then he goes, "I guess it's the steroids." And then he just walks off.
Okay. All right, now.
And I think that's the only time I've ever heard him speak
Yeah, I
in a
think
movie.
that was the only line he had in this movie.
Because
he's
in Conan.
he's in
I don't
Conan.
hear him speaking Conan.
And he's in Conan. He's in the
Who's
Destroyer.
in
but
Conan?
He has
Rexar?
No, he's Thorgrim.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Destroyer, he's like the captain of the guards or something. That he has a mask on, so you can't really tell it's him. Yeah.
And he's in Mallrats, and he doesn't talk in there.
He's in a couple.
He played. And funny enough, I bring up Captain Power. He plays a character in Captain Power, and he speaks, but I don't know if that's his actual voice or if it's dubbed over.
It's probably dubbed over.
Okay, so Deviant Script Doctor. So I guess the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is when I was watching this movie, I was like, obviously you try to put this movie in perspective of the year it came out, and I guess it's based off a book too. But a ton of movies have bit off this arc, this idea that like the public can look in on like a blood sport, like literally killing people. Obviously, you go back to the Roman gladiators. This is very similar to that. It's actually, interestingly enough, very similar to, it's almost like American Gladiators to the death in a lot of ways. There was that Stone Cold film that did something like this. I thought of Battle Royale as well, but I think that's it's slightly different. But I feel like this is one of the I don't know if, when people think of The Running Man that don't know anything about the movie, they're not going to think that this movie is like this. I don't think. They're going to think it's some track movie or some bullshit like that,
It's a strange name. I mean, by the way, this was written by Stephen King, by the way, under a pseudonym.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, look it up. It's actually
I wonder how different it is than the movie.
Well, I don't have no idea. I was thinking the same thing while I was watching it. You mentioned the American Gladiators. Apparently, American Gladiators got its idea off of the film.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. And the movie, that game's obviously, if you ever played Smash TV, it's pretty much a direct copy of this movie. So, but those are the two that I know directly.
So so maybe you guys can clarify this for me. When Killian takes Arnold to they finally get him and they capture him, and then they do some procedure on him that's painful. But before they get him to agree to do it, he sort of tells them that if you don't do the Running Man game, whatever, if you're not a Running Man contestant, then your friends will be Running Men contestants. Is that am I under the impression that that was the crux of why he did it?
Yeah, that's the reason why he didn't want them to be involved. But then, of course, Killian, being a bastard he involves them anyway.
Guess what happened?
Why did he even ask him? What was his choice? They could have literally just put him on the thing, and then that would have been it. They would have come to kill him. You know what I mean? They could have forced him into the little sled.
Well, the thing is, though, is that he could have decided just not to do it, and then just either, I guess, just not do it and just die there. I guess, I don't know. But I mean, I guess there was a reason why. I mean, he could have actually gone back to prison or whatever it was. I don't know. I agree with you.
And and even at that point, were they even really that close of friends? Because when they were getting the collars taken away, weren't Arnold and the black dude talking crap to each other?
Yeah.
But
hey man, it just shows that Arnold
I felt
cares.
like there was no friendship there. I felt like they were just okay, we're gonna bond together so we can escape prison, and then once we get these collars off, we're gonna go separate ways. Yeah. And then the nerdy dude and what's his face were okay, we've got to shut down this whole broadcast thing, which by the way is gonna lead to that's a ridiculous point. There was no friendship there because Arnold didn't care what happened. He just wanted to go be free, and then all of a sudden now he's being threatened by his friends, and it's that, I don't know. That made no sense to me.
Hey man, it showed that Arnold has caring. He cared about people. He always did. He has a heart. He has a heart of gold. He's an Austrian with a heart of gold. Heart of gold.
Speaking of that, I guess I'll say it now. There was a scene in there where he could have killed Dynamo, and he chose not to. So this is kind of the thing that you're talking about. I found it very amusing that those old ladies that they kept showing that were sort of fans of the show, and they try to make it The Price is Right a little bit, kind of, right? They were furious that he didn't kill him. I thought that made me laugh. It was funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They were booing it. Well, it's kind of like how in gladiatorial times or whatever in the Roman Colosseum, where people wanted to kill him and he didn't. It's they kind of made it kind of that kind of thing.
And I even love how when Killian's all right, who's going to get the next kill? And that Oli is Ben Richards. He's no, now he's a runner. You got to choose a stalker. She's no, I can choose whatever I want. I choose Ben Richards. He's one mean motherfucker. Yeah, that
boy's one mean motherfucker. I was going to say that was I think out of all the one-liners, I think that lady took it, because when I saw it, I totally forgot. I was cracked up, dude. The way she says it is just
every
so
time
good.
she delivers it is so funny.
One of the other funny part, okay, so I thought it was interesting that they call, when they bring him into the room and they're and then they bring the guy, they bring Ben Richards into the room, and then they're okay, they open up the door and this guy walks in, and you're okay, this is the lawyer. And they're like, it's your court-appointed theatrical agent. I was like, these motherfuckers. And then obviously that precipitates the scene where, you know, he's trying to sign the contract and he's like, use my back, victim. And then Arnold, of course, you know what he's going to do. He just stabs him. And he gives one of the great one-liners of the movie. Don't forget to send me a copy. Just fantastic greatness.
It's so great.
I love it. I wanted to ask you guys about the sleds. I thought the sleds were fucking dope. I would actually want to ride one. I mean, now the problem with that though is that the way that they stopped it was absolutely preposterous. There's no way you're going to be going so fast that your face is going to be like being pushed back by the wind, and you're just going to get stopped in a net. You're going to go right through it and die.
No, but if you notice in the front of it, there's actually retro rockets, dude.
What do you mean? Oh, to go the other way.
Yeah, there are retro rockets in the front.
And you only see them when the nerd.
I always I always thought the same thing.
Like convulsing. Yeah.
So they're actually retro rockets. So I thought, I'm like, dude, this thing would literally fly straight through. Like at the end when Killian got killed. Yeah. He like literally.
But they just didn't turn the rockets on, so that's why he died.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
The sleds are still dope though, right?
Oh yeah, dude. You know what? You know what that reminded me of, when we were on that new ride at Great America? It's our local theme park here. That new ride, that thing that we got into, that pod, like the moment I got into that pod, I'm like, dude, we're going to do the Running Man fall. You think of it. It really was like that pod. When I got in there, I'm like, I'm glad I got to fit in here, dude, because it's like the Running Man.
I actually... Go ahead.
I got a question for you guys. Kill count? What do you think the kill count was?
For Arnold?
Yeah. In the whole movie?
No, in the entire movie.
Hold on.
And then how many Arnold got?
Okay. Okay. This is going to be interesting.
Well, does include the 60 that were
slaughtered at the end?
Not in Bakersfield.
Okay.
It doesn't count Bakersfield.
The Bakersfield
no, it counts from the prison on.
Okay, now hold on. But they do show a flashback of the Bakersfield massacre.
Yeah, but technically he didn't kill him.
Yeah, but that doesn't count because he didn't. I mean, because they and there's not a definitive number for Bakersfield.
Well, they said 60 women children.
I think they do say something like that.
Yeah, I think they say 60.
Okay, hold on. There's Arnold.
Well, I wasn't paying attention, so I don't count.
Arnold murders somebody.
No, this is kill count in the entire movie.
Everyone,
and then you can give your Arnold count.
I would say, I mean, there was a lot of guards.
I'm gonna say 80. 80. Guch?
I will say it's got to be lower. I'll say around 50.
45.
Okay, so then now you have the Arnold number?
45, yeah. Yeah, I have the Arnold number.
If that's the case, I'm going to guess like 35 for Arnold.
The Arnold number. Huge. The Arnold number. You said 45, right?
For the whole movie.
45 for the entire movie.
I'll say like
for the whole
27 to 28 for Arnold.
Okay, so we had 35 and 28.
Yeah.
Arnold has the most kills in this movie at 14.
Only 14.
Okay.
Wow.
Who
else is doing all the killing?
Only 14 because that's what 3 stalkers. So Arnold had 14. The black dude had like 3. Each stalker. I think. Did they credit each stalker? No. Buzzsaw gets 1.
All right, true. Dynamo should have another.
And then it's the guards when they come in at the end and they're blasting up the crowd. Yeah. Like they get credited with kills.
Those darn civilians
right. Like
screwing up our count.
Because that's what popped the idea in my head is like at the very end, like all of a sudden these dudes are just firing on the crowd. I'm like, okay, I guess this is happening right now.
They don't give a damn, fool. They're like, oh, Ben Richards is one guy. Fucking he just kills they kill the whole crowd. He just doesn't care. It's all live TV too.
How often do you guys think the show aired?
Yeah. I don't know. He made a comment. They make a comment on their ratings, and it's at the very beginning when we first meet Killian, and he says something like his assistant like asks him about the ratings, and they're like, it's the same as it was. I think it's a weekly show because I think they said it's the same as it was last week and the week before and the week before. Like, and that's the thing is that the ratings are so stagnant that they need something to get that spike.
I agree. It's pretty weird.
I wanted to say I forgot. forgot one guy to talk about in the casting thing. Sub-Zero. I forgot to talk about him. When I first saw him, I was like, wait a second, is that Yokozuna? I was like, oh, it's not Yokozuna. But it is a professional wrestler, a guy named Professor Tanaka. But I had a question for you, Devo. Did you think it was odd that they showed, okay, he's like Sub-Zero, he's like the master of freezing or whatever, of the cold or whatever the hell they term him, right? And this fool's like some Japanese hockey player?
Yeah.
Did that seem odd?
Yeah.
It was very strange to me.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's no different than a big old opera singer that's got Christmas tree lights and shooting lightning bolts out of his hand. But like, and they gotta have like these archetypes. Why it was a Japanese dude? I mean, I guess maybe his size or something.
Why was it a black guy wearing a fireproof chainmail that shot fire and they could fly?
Great point. Makes zero sense.
It makes zero sense.
I think the only one that made sense was
Buzzsaw made sense. He was like the only guy.
A motorcycle on. Speaking of Buzzsaw, I thought it was hilarious when Arnold chainsawed him in the nuts, and this fool just screamed high pitched.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Yeah, dude, but that whole scene is like where they're struggling over the saw, and like he's looking at Arnold. He's like, "I love the saw, and I want you to learn more
the saw is part of me. Now I'm gonna make it part of me." I was like, was that like some like homoerotic weird thing that he said?
Can you?
The way he was looking at Arnold, dude, he looked like he wanted not only kill him and then fuck him after.
But can you imagine being the writer of that and you're like, oh my God, this line is going to slay.
Now I wonder if it was in the book that way. And they were like, you know what? I'm going to write that verbatim because that sounds great.
I want to read this book now.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Okay, what did you guys think of Dynamo's car? Did it look like a modded F1 car or something?
No, that thing looked like a
go-kart.
terrible
It was a go-kart.
Because I was thinking that it had to be something
so
like
stupid.
that because there's a scene where Arnold literally outruns that car.
Yeah, look, it's so dumb.
He literally is running faster than the car, and the guy he's running and is not catching up.
This fucking guy can shoot lightning, and he gets in his car. You shoot his lightning at him. Keep shooting lightning.
We saw it on the tarmac.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, but like this dummy is chasing Arnold around, and then Arnold's like, follow me, and he runs up a hill. And who's the dummy that tries to go up a hill in this little go-kart, and then he flips over?
It's dumb.
Did you think that he was going to try to rape Conchita in his tiny whities? Is that what he was trying to do?
I guess so.
Yeah.
In the middle of a hallway.
It was very strange. Okay.
Yeah.
At his work?
Yeah, after it's so strange.
I guess that's
It's just so odd.
I mean, hey, he his life flashed before his eyes, and maybe he thought he was going to turn over a new leaf, and then he just saw this hot babe in front of him, and then all of a sudden his evil, villainous mind just cracked right back into him, and I don't know, the first thing he thought of was, I just got to shock it.
Yeah, I guess so.
One thing I wanted to shout out to my brother, the brother that's in the movie. I really liked the way he acted out his death, because he was like talking, he was having some conversation with Arnold, and he was like telling him, don't make our death in vain. And he said something like, I don't want to be the only asshole in heaven, and then just died. I was like, man, that's how you go out.
Well, Yafet Koto was awesome though. He's a great actor.
He's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I thought, this is the last point I want to make before we move on to It's Just So Ridiculous. So I was reading that Arnold, recently in the last 4 or 5 years, spoke out about and criticized this film because apparently the guy who ended up directing the movie was the guy that they wanted originally to do it, and he said that there wasn't going to be enough pre-production time, so he didn't want to do it. And then so they hired some other guy, and 2 weeks in they were already behind schedule, so they fired him, and they were able to convince the guy to end up doing the movie. And Arnold criticized that guy that ended up making the movie because he thought that he shot it like a TV show, and he took out a lot of the deeper themes, which I'm assuming would probably be in Stephen King's book.
Right.
But one of the things that I picked up on, and I'm trying to figure out, so how would this be deeper? And there was a scene where Richard Dawson frames the stalkers as patriots that are upholders of the law.
And they're heroes.
Yeah, they're heroes. And I was curious, what do you guys think are examples of this in like American or like world history, where like these people that do these heinous things to other people so that other people can watch them are like, because I don't think that people thought gladiators, I mean, obviously some people idolized them, but they weren't like upholding the law. They were like, they were the convicts in a lot of cases, or they were slaves or whatever. They were their
entertainment. Yeah.
But these guys are like lauded. I just felt like that was probably maybe where the book maybe delved into something deeper. This backwards idea that like we're looking at the movie and seeing that Ben Richards is clearly the hero, whereas the public sees these guys as the heroes, but they're clearly the villains.
Yeah, I don't know.
And even I was reading that some, like in the 30th anniversary of the Blu-ray, some BBC fuck was saying that, like, you know, the Running Man is like a great predictor, and it was very visionary, and it really showed like what our society is like right now. And I was like, you stupid fuck. We're not like this at all. We're like the antithesis of that. The second anyone gets violent, people are like PC fucking police out this shit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think the only correlation that the Running Man has from then to now is the fact that when Dynamo tries to rape Maria Conchita, like, I think that's the only thing from the movie that we see happening nowadays.
Yeah, I think like the voyeuristic aspect of it is obviously something that is a modern idea that we with social media and everything.
With social media and all that.
The violence aspect of it, I definitely don't think is appropriate.
Not yet.
It was like indicative of our time. Okay, so it's just so ridiculous. Okay, let's get into it. Did you want to start off with the one that you had, Devo? Okay,
right, I got a couple.
First. Go for it.
I actually got two. All right, so my first one, when that lady says that she's betting on Ben Richards to get the next kill, whenever there's a stalker death and they move on to the next quadrant or whatever, they show a crowd of like bookies, and they're taking people's bets. And then at one point when that lady's like, I'm going to bet on Ben Richards, the guys look at each other like, okay, we'll take bets on Ben Richards. And so they write the odds for Ben Richards at 100-1.
Yeah.
And this fool just got done killing 2 of the 3 stalkers that are active, and he has 101 odds to get the next kill.
It's worse than Buster Douglas. Worse bet
than... Dude, you know what? The crazy thing about it is that guy that was giving him money, that fool said 200 on Richards. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, why are you giving him 101 odds? Jesus Christ.
20 G's.
20 G's right there.
Dude.
I still don't understand how he was able to keep track of all the bets.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like he had a paper, and then like I have no idea.
You know what's so ridiculous?
How that worked.
Those guys' outfits, dude. Those things.
That jacket.
Holy crap! That guy's jacket,
dude. That is 2019. What do you expect?
Like, who the hell is this guy? Oh man.
You know who he kind of reminded me of? He kind of reminded me of the dude in like the white leather outfit with the sunglasses in the Michael Jackson Beat It video.
It could have been the same guy.
And like it looked like they were just like they could have just been like background dancers from that thing. My other point from That's So Ridiculous is the very end when Arnold and Maria are running around after their homie just got blasted. They're going around and he notices the uplinks are pointing in a certain direction, and he goes and he has to get that special code so they can hack the broadcast, right? Maria and Arnold are just running around, and then all of a sudden they get caught by Mick and the rebels. So does that mean all this time Mick and the rebels had access to that underground Running Man lair where all of the uplinks were, where if the show wasn't running, they could just send one person in to go do the uplink hack and then get the code whenever they wanted, rather than having to wait for a TV show of like deadly nature and somebody that's strong enough to be able to go through and last through like multiple stalkers to get this code just so they can upload it? Like,
yeah. I always wondered the same thing, because I mean they said he was in quadrant 4, right? And I'm assuming they found the upload link in the middle of the zones,
quadrant 2
or somewhere, whatever it was.
Yeah, because that was the dude gets killed by Dynamo, and that was quadrant 2.
Quadrant 2, so that's where it was. So all this whole time it was in quadrant 2. They were like, Arnold does ask him like, why didn't you help us, or why didn't you ever do this? Like, we can't show our face or we would be caught, right? And I'm like, well, your point is
it's a weekly TV show.
I'm assuming they have people like constantly those guys on those bikes, those like biker dudes. Maybe they're like constantly patrolling it. I'm assuming,
Maybe.
or
I don't know, but I just felt like it was.
Or they're
like they just kind of came out of nowhere to capture Arnold and Maria, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, guess what? We got the code now.
The only thing I can also imagine is that
How convenient.
during off time, like that area is like it has tons of security, but during obviously motherfuckers being killed, maybe the security goes off to do nothing.
I thought the movie had a very poor sense of like location and space because, just like you mentioned, like one of the things on my list was they like went through the whole thing with the Sub-Zero and killed them and everything, went in the hockey rink and all this, and then they're like running around in like some war-torn looking area, and then hours later into the whole thing, or maybe it's at least an hour, all of a sudden they're like, oh, Conchita Alonso is gonna come in, they send her off, and somehow she like finds them like that, like how the hell would she even know where they were? How would she know where they were?
They put her down right next to her.
So they obviously, even the sled thing itself was like, I guess the purpose of it is to send them to some location that's like miles away from the studio.
They obviously know. Yeah, exactly. It just shows up. Like they have like the tubes everywhere and stuff.
They could have done a better job of like physically showing how far away it was and like where she was going. Like this, if it was a modern film, they would have done these types of things. So
like just the scene where like when they first get down there and they look back and they see the studio like, I don't know, 5 miles away or something,
Yeah, exactly.
Just to add like maybe a little sense of hopelessness.
Remember in the beginning where he's like in the helicopter and he's looking at the screen and it's like some terrible Atari graphics or whatever it was, and he's like, oh, there's 60 people down in there. I'm like, how the fuck would you know there's people down in there by looking at that? It's terrible looking.
I tried because he said there's like 1,500 civilians down there, right? And I'm assuming that not only there was with that the cloud of pixels that was there, I'm assuming there was a digital number that was reading. I'm sorry, there was a digital number that was reading out there. But I tried to look again. I'm like, there was nothing. It was like coordinates. It wasn't any number. I was like, dang. How can you tell there's 1,500 people out there?
It's because that dude's reading that robot language.
When Arnold first gets into the prison, they first show him in the prison. This fellow has like this beard. It's just so fake and so glorious.
Oh, it looks so gross.
So
I mean, it looks cool, but it looks so gross.
They always give him the blonde beard, so it really looks like it's just like it looks like it's pasted on.
Well, because I felt like his character was like more of a redhead, wasn't he?
Dude, it was
like a really dark redhead.
It looked terrible though. You could totally tell it's fake.
You know what I love? One of the things I love is Arnold does this in a bunch of movies, but he did in this movie a couple times where he's like holding some like huge assault rifle, right? That like realistically you would have to have like two hands on, and it would be like have to be like put in your shoulder so that you didn't knock your shoulder out of socket, right? And this fool's like has this assault rifle in his one hand, and then he like is like shooting someone, and then like someone comes around the other corner and he like turns to them and he just like looks at them real quick and then like turns his gun with one arm and then go and like hits the guy perfectly with perfect aim. I was like, and then just like, and he looks all serious and everything, and I'm just like, that's Arnold, Phil. That's not even realistic at all.
That's classic Arnold.
It's great. Like, it has perfect aim. It's so funny. Now, speaking of the prison, now the one dude that like gets his head blown off because he wouldn't stop running when they told him to stop running, like bro, like everyone literally is telling you to stop running. Like, what are you doing? Like, you could at least like turn back and be like, what? But this fool just kept running and then got his head blown off. Like, it just makes no sense. I mean, I know why they did it because you want to see someone's head getting blown off, but I was like, this fool's the dumbest person ever.
Yeah,
it's epic though, dude. I always love that one. Like the way he's running, it's like he's like running so straight. It's like pow, and it's like it's just head just like it's like a zit popping. It's like pop.
Oh, it's a great scene. Great scene.
Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah.
It's so great.
He was like, oh, there's some green on there. I'm gonna run and I'm gonna live.
There's a scene where Conchita Alonso goes in and she's like, I'm going to go into the special room and I'm going to find the tapes, the raw footage, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, if this raw footage was so sensitive that if they ended up later on in the movie showing it and that like sort of foiled all their, their plans and jeopardized their setup, like why would they then have it in some file that this chick who could easily find it and it's labeled raw footage, Bakersfield Massacre? It's preposterous.
Dude, I always think about the same thing, but I mean, think about the Watergate stuff, dude. Nixon had all these tapes with him. They're like tapes that implicate him in all sorts of bullshit.
I guess you're right. I guess so.
So if the government has it, of course these guys are gonna have it. They're a damn TV station that's like literally runs the government, dude.
So would you say that that's the same reason why they had those bodies there and they didn't like truly?
Yeah, they didn't care.
I was like, let me get this straight. They have like dead, decaying bodies in a locker room when they have 4 quadrants full of like the decayed and dilapidated like urban area that they could have just buried them in.
They didn't give a damn, fool. After all, they're the ones that make the truth.
So we're back to the
It doesn't matter whether they're
Yeah, they just left him in a locker room somewhere with their uniform still on, all that.
Now, okay, this is a big one. I think this is one of the big ones. They're like, so when they get Conchita Alonso and they're like, oh, she's this terrible person. She stole something or whatever. And then they're like, she even had 2 to 3 sexual partners with different men as sexual partners in a year. I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah. And everybody's like,
I was like, man, like a woman could have 2 to 3 sexual partners at one time, and it's pretty normalized now.
Oh, man.
I thought that was hilarious to me. That's so dated and funny.
Yeah.
There's another scene where Arnold is like fighting against Jim Brown, and like they're in the hallway, and Arnold's like, go. He doesn't say get to the chopper. He doesn't say that, but he's like, go. And this fool picks up a barrel and throws it, and she still doesn't move. And she's like, go. And then he picks up a second barrel and throws it, and she still doesn't move. He's like, go. And he picks up the third barrel, and I'm like, bitch, you only got 4 barrels. You better move soon. It was hilarious. That's like pure 80s direction. It's great. One of the other things is, okay, remember we talked about how that wasn't Jesse the Body or Arnold in that like simulated fight that they had?
Mm-hmm.
When the body comes in and he sees Conchita Alonso, he picks her up and snaps her neck and then just tosses her limp body into the barbed wire. It is so fucking brutal. I was shocked. I was like, oh, really? Shit.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it for a while. I was like, it's expected. It's like, and
it's amazing,
it's funny because
it's
they
just
crunch,
like
it's like
body.
crunch, and then it's
terrible. It's so terrible, so brutal.
And
oh
like,
my god!
Watching it again, it looks like it's an obvious like rubber doll or something that just gets tossed.
It's just so funny.
Okay, so last question. We talked about this already. Mick Fleetwood. Who the fuck was he? Like, I first thought, okay, you know when they mentioned in the beginning when Arnold goes to Conchita Alonso, he goes to her apartment and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? Are you dating my brother? And she's like, no, I just moved in here. And they never go back to the brother, ever. They never mention him ever once again. Even after they said re-education, I'm like, okay, well, he's going to come back. And I thought that Mick might have been him, but he wasn't apparently because it's Mick Fleetwood. Like, it just seems weird.
Yeah.
Dude, he went to get re-educated, fool. What do you think that means?
Yeah, but
that isn't some nice, he's going to Club Med to get. No, that means he's probably in some gulag somewhere being re-educated. What do you think that means?
Yep.
Yeah, but shouldn't
that's a
he
nice way of saying that he's being tortured. How the hell does he know where it's
you
at?
You know what he is? He's DED.
Now that he's free, now he may have to go look for him, obviously. But if it was at a re-education center, dude, that's not a nice place to be.
All right, now here we go. Dun dun dun. We're coming to the one award that we hand out every episode, and that's the Kim Coppola Worst Acting Award. Should we call it like the poorest thespian or something like that award? Okay, now we have some. I was enjoying watching this film. I didn't even know because everyone's pretty bad in it. Okay, so I'm gonna name my 5 candidates, and then you guys throw some out, and we'll decide. My first one was Sven, obviously, because I couldn't understand what the fuck he said.
Come on.
Then
no, he has one line.
I was Buzzsaw. Maybe Dynamo was terrible. Obviously, Conchita Alonso couldn't even get her lines out. I was wondering, would some people think that Arnold was the worst actor in the movie?
No, Arnold's never been the worst actor in the film.
No.
Okay, who else do you guys think?
I mean, I only have one person on my list.
Dweezil?
It's Maria Conchita Alonso.
Wow.
Damn.
She's number 1, man. And
it's because her high voice thing when she's like under peril, huh? That's really bad.
It's the again. It's like the ADR is so bad. I feel whenever she speaks, it's a disembodied voice. Like when that dude's trying to tell her to like to remember the code, and he's like 8774, and she's like, what? Why? 877. He's like 774, and she's just like, what? It just again, like the way that they re-recorded her voice. It's so I don't know. That completely threw me off.
Like, I was looking at her booty.
It's like
there,
that in every movie I've seen her in.
So what's Guch? Do you agree? I'm fine with that choice because she was particularly bad.
You know who's bad, and she has a small part in it. It's her friend when they're talking to her on the.
I completely disagree. I completely disagree.
You don't think so? You think she's worse? I thought her friend was worse.
I guess it's Conchita then. We got. You know what's a funny thing?
Yeah, but she's not a major player.
You know who's a major player is? The music. The music is fucking terrible.
This guy.
I put that one on there.
They're not. The music is not a thespian fool.
I don't care, dude. It's part of the film. I put the music up there, dude.
Okay.
All right, I'll go.
Okay, because I think last time we did this award and we didn't actually agree on someone. So Conchita.
No, I agree. Conchita Alonso, but she's bad in everything though.
Congratulations on the award.
Maybe she's good in like the Spanish things, but like Predator 2, this film. I mean, she's nice looking, but
that's all I care about. Okay, now let's go to the deviantly repeatable quotes. Remember, we didn't have any for like Unbreakable. There's just a shitload in this one. So I'm gonna name off some, and then you guys can name some ones that I didn't catch.
All right.
So he delivers the hell with you. He says that it's glorious, and she goes, you don't have a travel pass. He's all, you do. Now I do. Which is his greatness. Then the brother, he goes, you're a hell of an actor. He goes, you're a hell of an actor, and Arnold goes, who's acting? And no, Arnold says you're a hell of an actor, and the Bronco goes, who's acting? He's all, well, you're alive, aren't you? And then Guch's infamous candidate of the Kim Coppola Award. That her friend, she says that one of the glorious lines is in the whole movie. She says, boy, lucky he didn't kill you too, or rape and kill you, or kill you then rape you.
Rape you, yeah.
A guy like that, what would stop him? And she's like, yeah, what would stop him? But what I love is that that scene is just one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because Conchita Alonso is looking at it just in like slight horror, but like curiosity, and the other chick is just literally looking at Arnold like he's a fucking T-bone steak.
Like
she just wants to eat him up. Oh, it's just greatness.
Like she probably would have
just
liked
like we all were.
Kidnapped by him.
It's hilarious.
No, mine is. I
got more.
When you got more. Okay, continue.
Okay, he goes. There's a scene where Arnold turns to Killian. He's like, "I'll be back." And Killian one-ups him. He's like, only in a rerun. I was like, yeah. So he says, I'll be back. And then there's obviously the one, Devo, your famous one, here is Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero. And then he says, after he kills him, he's like, it's a good thing we killed Sub-Zero. He's like, yeah, he was a real pain in the neck. And then obviously the old lady, they saying that boy's one mean motherfucker. And then he goes, and then the other one, Jim Brown goes, my gas line. And Arnold goes, how about a light? And then after he's walking away, he's all, what a hothead.
Or after he cuts Buzzsaw in half, and then the dude's like, where's Buzzsaw? And he's like, oh, he had to split.
I missed that one. It's a great one. The worst one though, before you say yours, is the one where he's like, what do you think about that? And then Arnold grabs the camera off, and he's like, I'm gonna ram this into your stomach and break your goddamn spine. And I was like, Arnold, that's it? Like, you could do better than that.
He's like, I wanna grab this camera, shove it down your throat, and punch you in the stomach and rub out your goddamn spine.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, everything he said in that sentence made zero sense. Like,
and it was like involved. It was like multi-layered.
The chronology of what he was gonna do.
All right, Guch, what's your favorite, Guch?
Oh, there's a couple. So when they're all running around through the when they first get to the quadrant, the first quadrant, they're running around. They're like, uplink. Oh, I gotta get the uplink. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna uplink your ass. You know.
I forgot about that.
He's like, I'm gonna uplink your ass and then let you in the underground. There's that one. And then Conchita Alonso, after they defeat Dynamo, she's all, oh, I should have gone to Hawaii. He's all, oh, I had the shirt when you fucked it up.
Wait, The way he delivers it was funny
The
as
way he
hell.
delivers it is fucking funny.
The way because the cursing you don't expect, it's hilarious.
And then of course when Killian, when it's like a classic soundboard sound of Arnold. It's the one where Killian's like, "Oh, do you accept the contract?" He's all, "Fuck you." Just a classic Arnold soundbite.
Just like it when Arnold curses, huh? It's just so good.
It's just so funny. It's just so funny. And then, those are the ones that you mentioned. A bunch of other ones I like too, but those are the ones you didn't mention. So.
Yeah, I mean, we already mentioned Sub-Zero, but my absolute favorite one is when Arnold's like, "I'll be back," and then Killian's like, "Only in a rerun." Like this little weasel's got these balls to just say that.
The good thing about that quote is that you only truly understand like the gravity of it if you've seen Terminator at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because you know that like that he delivers that line, and I didn't even expect Killian to say that. I forgot he said that, and I was like, wow, that was a really good one. You know what I mean? Because it was the one-liner where Arnold has this one-liner, and then someone one-ups him, and Arnold let it happen, which was cool, you know? Mm-hmm. All right, now let's talk about the Deviant remake. So back in 2014, Arnold said, I read an article that he said he would be curious about doing a sequel, and we talked about that earlier, that he would maybe go find his brother. Would you guys be interested in something like that?
For me, I'd be less interested in the sequel and more interested in a prequel, because I would kind of like to see how the society fell to the way it was, and also see the sort of planning and initiation of the Running Man, and see like the first incarnations of the show, and like maybe there's something where like people are like, oh, we can't do this, it's gonna be a huge flop, and like have this giant controversy, but then all of a sudden it becomes this huge hit. And then, maybe like the 4 or 5 stalkers that we saw aren't the original ones, and maybe introduced to like the original 5 or 6 stalkers,
I actually would be interested to see The Rock remake this movie. I think he would be perfect for it. Honestly, I really do. He's literally right now what Arnold was then. He's obviously older now, but I think he could easily do this, redo this movie. What do you think, Guch?
As long as they keep it rated R, I would say I could see this being a remake, because the book itself is probably left for more interpretation than the screenplay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if they could envision it the way maybe the original directors wanted it to, and make it a little bit more dark, because this is campy as all hell. I mean, I love it. It's campiness.
Yeah.
I absolutely fucking love it. But I mean, I could see where it could be. This is a great story about this is the civilization where it was going at the time, the 80s consumption, and TV and all this stuff, and that's what this was all about.
I mean, there's a lot of room to modernize this.
Yeah,
there really is.
I absolutely agree. So I think if they could get a rated R rock film in there, I could see that happening. But I don't know about a prequel. A prequel would be interesting. But there's no way they could call it The Running Man. It'd have to be something totally different, because it's like almost a different type of film,
What I would like to see is, like I mentioned the prequel and stuff. If obviously you're not going to have Ben Richards as the main character because it'd be a prequel.
Right.
What I would like to see is the twist that we got in Predators, where they kind of intended to have Arnold come back as Dutch, but he didn't want to do it, so they cast Adrian Brody as his new character. Have Adrian Brody be one of the first Running Men.
Adrian Brody could do it. I'd be down with that. I love Carl Urban. I love Carl Urban. So if Carl Urban did it, I'd be happy to. Game. There was a game. You mentioned Guch, Smash TV, but there was also a Running Man game for the Commodore. Do you think that this would translate to a modern game well, or do you think that's something like an MMO or some type of game like that?
Honestly, I think they did such a great job on Smash TV, because I know I played it heavily when it came out. I mean, I loved that game, and honestly, it made you feel like you were in this. I looked at I've seen the what was it for the Amiga, or what was it, Commodore?
Yeah.
I've seen the game footage for that, and you can imagine what it is. It's not very good.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's garbage.
Yeah.
So
like I mean,
Smash TV had it. It's fine. I'll keep it with Smash TV.
Yeah. Smash TV was inspired by it, but it's not a direct relation to the movie, because you're two dudes running around shooting stuff,
Yeah,
and the idea is that it's a game show to the death, That's really the most it takes from the movie. What I would like to see, though, is something that's more in line with that. Maybe there's some. I've seen like some game shows where it's like you've got the people in the studio doing the game, but they're representing a viewer or something like that. Maybe in Running Man the game, like you can be representing certain viewers. So not only do you have to have your character survive and survive these stalkers and maybe some other people, but like the more you survive and the more kills you get, then the more rewards that your viewer gets. So that way it's a point system or something like that. They get Running Man, the home version, or the VHS box set.
All right, fellas. I think I have an idea of what we're gonna all say here. But how deviant worthy is this film? To wrap it up,
dude, a dystopic. Not now. It's not now a future, obviously, but at 87, it was dystopic future run on TV ratings, starring Arnold as the hero. Dude, this is. I mean, I love Arnold, so I'm gonna give this an 8. It's not his best work, but this is a watch for anybody. Just have a good, fun night of TV. Just watching something good. This is down for it. You don't have to think.
Yeah, definitely an 8. This is not only one of my most favorite Arnold movies, but like in terms of sci-fi and that sort of like neo-future, it looks like it's kind of post-apocalyptic, but it's not sort of thing. This is one of those movies where you can turn it on at any point in the movie and just fall right into it again, And, you can start anywhere in this movie and with how often I've seen it, I can remember everything from the beginning to now. And one of my most favorite movies of all time.
For me, I think it's absolutely it's great. It's in the pantheon of, like you guys say, of Arnold's best movies of all time. And I think if you love camp, this is like 100% up your wheelhouse, which Guch said he is a connoisseur of.
I love it.
I think that, a lot of these younger kids.
Give us your true feelings. You can tell us.
I think a lot of the.
You can give it a 5. You do it.
A lot of these. I probably give it like a 6 or a 7 actually.
I figured.
But I think a lot of young kids will watch this and think it's absolutely unwatchable.
Yeah.
So like if you're 20 and you're listening to this, like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I think you'll like this movie. I don't think you will. But if you have the same type of twisted humor and like appreciation for Mr. Schwarzenegger that we do, but we were raised on him. And if you're 20, you weren't. You only know him as a governor. It might not be the same, but I think that if you like Arnold, you appreciate him, you're gonna love this movie. It's one of the you can't be a fan of Arnold and not have seen this movie.
I would suggest if you haven't seen an Arnold film, I would start with it's top of the top Arnold films. So like the Terminator, Terminator 2, Predator.
Yeah.
To get a feel for how he acts and how the way he interacts with Total Recall. Total Recall is very close to what this is. I think it's vastly superior, but it's something that would. But it's don't. I agree with Clint. If you go straight into the Running Man, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a hard time.
I mean, the star of this movie is the one-liners. I think it really shines through. But if you can't appreciate those, you're not gonna appreciate the movie.
True.
All right, fellas, that was so much fun. That was a great film, a great podcast. That's one me motherfucker, and we will be back next week with another glorious film for you people.
See ya.
Latest.